Explain why this billion-dollar deal will fail, and I'm yours.
Explain why this billion-dollar deal will fail, and I'm yours. Ashley Caldwell's smile didn't just fade. It shattered. The CEO's daughter, 31 years old. The prodigy who spent 3 years engineering Caldwell Global's largest merger. She stood frozen at the head of a 43-foot glass table overlooking Manhattan. 27 lawyers had vetted every clause. 4 investment banks had signed off on every detail. 2 governments watched silently from the shadows. But the man in the worn janitor's uniform, the one who emptied their trash bins and mopped their floors, had just read aloud the one sentence that would destroy everything. Clause 417B, deferred indemnification, triggered by multi-tier asset migration. The boardroom erupted. Bankers cursed. Lawyers scrambled through pages like drowning men clawing for air. Ashley's father slammed his chair to the floor, his voice cracking as he demanded answers from a man he'd never once looked in the eye. But Andrre Hale didn't flinch. He simply met Ashley's gaze with unshakable certainty and repeated the words that would change both their lives forever. Explain why this billion-dollar deal will fail, and I'm yours. What happens when the invisible man in your company sees the disaster your entire team of experts missed? If you want to know how a janitor dismantled a billion-dollar trap in under 2 minutes, and why Ashley Caldwell is about to make the most dangerous decision of her life, don't forget to hit that subscribe button right now so you won't miss what comes next. Drop a comment and tell us, have you ever been underestimated because of your job title? Where are you watching from? Let's find out what happens when the boardroom falls silent and the real game begins. In Ashley Caldwell's world, power radiated from the 87th floor like sunlight through bulletproof glass. The executive boardroom of Caldwell Global Holdings wasn't just expensive, it was a statement. 43 feet of floor-to-ceiling windows stretched across the Manhattan skyline, offering a view that suggested ownership rather than observation. Below, the city glittered like a conquered kingdom. Inside, a handcrafted cedar table gleamed under a chandelier bright enough to expose a single fingerprint on polished crystal. This was where empires were built, where billion-dollar decisions were made with the stroke of a pen, where Ashley Caldwell had spent the last 3 years preparing for the merger that would define her legacy. Today was supposed to be her coronation. The champagne sat chilling in crystal buckets. The CFO practiced his signature for the 20th time, hand trembling slightly with anticipation. 27 lawyers flanked the table like sentries guarding a treasure. 4 investment banks had representatives stationed at strategic intervals, their faces carefully neutral, but eyes bright with the promise of massive fees. And at the far end of the room, 2 government observers sat motionless in tailored suits, watching the proceedings with the stillness of predators waiting for prey to make a mistake. But no mistakes were expected today. This deal was flawless, or so they believed. Ashley Caldwell commanded attention, the way some people commanded armies. Effortlessly, instinctively, inevitably. At 31, she was already a legend inside Caldwell Global. Her father, the CEO, had groomed her since childhood to inherit the empire. But Ashley had never relied on her last name alone. She earned respect the hard way, by outthinking senior partners, by negotiating circles around committees twice her age, by reading every clause, every footnote, every hidden implication in contracts that made other executives' eyes glaze over. She carried herself like royalty, but thought like a warrior. For the past 3 months, she had slept 4 hours a night. She'd memorized all 744 pages of the merger agreement. She could recite financial projections in her sleep, and had personally vetted every lawyer on the due diligence team. Her colleagues called her brilliant. Her competitors called her ruthless. Her father called her unstoppable. And as she stood at the head of that gleaming table, watching confident faces nod in approval, Ashley smiled the smile of a woman who believed she had anticipated every threat, neutralized every variable, and secured every angle. No one in that room doubted her. No one, except the man no one saw. But something felt wrong. Ashley couldn't name it. It was just a flicker, a shadow at the edge of her awareness, the kind of instinct that whispers when logic screams, "Everything is perfect." She scanned the room again. The lawyers looked satisfied. The bankers exuded confidence. Her father beamed with pride. The government observers sat motionless, their presence a silent endorsement of legitimacy. Everything was exactly as it should be. And yet, Ashley's fingers tightened slightly on the leather-bound contract in front of her. She had reviewed this document so many times, she could navigate it blindfolded. Every clause had been analyzed. Every risk had been assessed. Every loophole had been closed. The senior partner from their lead law firm had assured her just this morning, "This is the cleanest acquisition I've seen in 20 years." So why did her chest feel tight? Why did the air in this immaculate boardroom suddenly feel too thin? She forced herself to breathe, to trust the process, to trust the experts she had hired specifically because they were the best in the world at finding problems before they became disasters. Ashley glanced at the clock. 3:13 p.m. 1 minute until the signing ceremony. The press waited outside, cameras ready to capture the moment. The champagne was precisely chilled. The carefully crafted press release sat ready to send the moment ink touched paper. This was it, the culmination of everything she had worked for. And then, at exactly 3:14 p.m., the elevator dinged. Every head in the room turned as one, because no one uninvited could access the executive floor during a deal closing, not even board members. The biometric security system required executive-level clearance, palm print verification, and scheduled authorization codes that changed every hour. So when those polished steel doors slid open without warning, without authorization, without explanation, the room froze. Security guards stiffened, hands moving instinctively toward concealed weapons. The CFO's pen stopped mid-signature. Lawyers exchanged alarmed glances. Even the government observers leaned forward slightly, their carefully maintained neutrality cracking just enough to reveal interest. Ashley's breath caught in her throat. Was this a corporate spy? A rival CEO staging some dramatic intervention? A disgruntled former employee seeking revenge? But when the elevator doors opened fully, revealing the figure inside, the confusion in the room deepened into something closer to disbelief. Because it wasn't an assassin. It wasn't a rival. It wasn't a threat they had prepared for. It was the janitor. Andrre Hale stepped out of that elevator, as if summoned by fate itself. He was tall, taller than Ashley had realized in the brief moments she'd passed him in hallways. His navy blue uniform was worn at the elbows, the fabric faded from too many washes. His boots were wet from the rain outside, leaving faint tracks on the pristine marble floor that the cleaning staff would normally never allow. He was the man who emptied their bins, who polished their floors at night when the executives had gone home, who restocked supplies in the bathrooms and sanitized the conference rooms after important meetings. He was invisible, forgettable, beneath notice. And yet, as he stepped out of that elevator, something in his eyes made Ashley's instincts scream. Not defiance, not fear, not desperation. Certainty, pure, unshakable certainty, the kind of certainty that shouldn't exist in a man whose job was to be unseen. Security didn't move. They seemed frozen by the sheer audacity of what was happening, unable to process how a janitor had bypassed every security protocol designed to prevent exactly this kind of interruption. Executives didn't speak. They stared like witnesses to an impossible event, their minds struggling to reconcile the uniform with the confidence, the station with the presence. And Ashley felt her smile falter for the first time in months. Because something about the way Andrre Hale moved through that room, past security guards who should have stopped him, past bankers who should have objected, past her father whose face was already darkening with fury, told her this was not a mistake. This was intentional, and that terrified her more than any rival CEO ever could. Andrre walked with purpose, not hurried, not aggressive, just inevitable. He moved past the security detail as if they were furniture, past the executives who gaped like statues, witnessing a miracle, past the government, observers whose hands now rested on the table, poised but not yet intervening. He walked straight to the massive projection screen displaying page 417 of the merger contract, a page Ashley herself had reviewed personally just 48 hours ago. He didn't apologize for the interruption, didn't clear his throat or ask permission to speak. He simply reached into his cleaning cart, the same cart he used to collect their garbage, to carry supplies from floor to floor, and pulled out a folded piece of paper. It was worn, creased from being opened and closed many times. The edges were slightly yellowed, as if it had been carried in a pocket for weeks. And when he unfolded it with careful, deliberate movements, Ashley saw what it was. A copy of their merger contract. Not a summary, not notes, the full 744-page document, annotated, highlighted, with notes written in precise handwriting in the margins. The room seemed to hold its breath, and then Andrre Hale spoke. His voice wasn't loud, he didn't shout or demand attention, but it carried across that boardroom with the weight of absolute conviction. Clause 417B, deferred indemnification, triggered by multi-tier asset migration. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Ashley's smile didn't fade gradually. It collapsed. Her chest tightened, as if someone had physically struck her. Her hands moved automatically, snatching up the leather-bound contract in front of her, flipping desperately to page 417, scanning for the clause she knew she had reviewed. But what she saw there, what she hadn't seen before, what her team of 27 lawyers hadn't flagged, stole every ounce of color from her face. Clause 417B wasn't just risky, it was lethal. A self-triggering mechanism buried beneath layers of vague legal language that sounded like standard operational restructuring. Language so common in corporate mergers that eyes glazed over when reading it. Language designed to be overlooked. But this clause didn't activate immediately. It didn't trigger next month or even next year. It waited 4 years. On the 4-year anniversary of the merger, hidden mechanisms would activate. Asset transfers would begin. Control structures would shift. And when the dust settled, majority ownership of Caldwell Global Holdings, the empire her family had built over 3 generations, would belong to the foreign conglomerate they believed they were acquiring. It was a corporate time bomb, disguised as paperwork, and they had been seconds away from signing it. The boardroom exploded. The CFO's curse cut through the air like a gunshot. Bankers leaned over the table, snatching at copies of the contract, fingers trembling as they searched for the clause. Lawyers scrambled through pages with the desperation of drowning men clawing at air, their professional composure shattering as they realized the magnitude of what they'd missed. "This can't be right," one lawyer whispered, voice hollow. "Forced divestiture," another muttered, face gray. "Punitive penalties. Transfer of control." How did we miss this? A senior partner demanded. But no one answered because they all knew. They had been so focused on the obvious threats that they'd missed the hidden one. Ashley's father, the CEO, the man who had built this empire from nothing, who had survived hostile takeovers and market crashes and economic disasters, rose so violently his chair slammed backward into the glass wall. The sound echoed like a crack of thunder. "How the hell did you get access to this contract?" His voice broke with a mixture of fury and something darker. Fear. "How do you even understand what you're talking about?" Every eye in the room turned to Andrre. They expected panic, a stutter, some explanation that would make sense of this impossible situation. They expected him to shrink under the weight of their collective stare, to remember his place, to apologize for overstepping. Instead, Andrre Hale looked calmly at Ashley, then at the CEO, his expression steady and unreadable. And then he spoke the words that would change everything. "Explain why this billion-dollar deal will fail, and I'm yours." Silence swallowed the boardroom whole. Not the comfortable silence of confidence, not the professional silence of people thinking, but the stunned, suffocating silence of a world that had just turned upside down. Ashley Caldwell stared at the man in the janitor's uniform, at Andrre Hale, as if she had never seen him before. Because she hadn't. Not really. None of them had. Her voice finally broke the silence, barely more than a whisper. "Who are you?" For the first time since stepping out of the elevator, Andrre smiled. A quiet, devastating smile that suggested he had nothing left to lose and everything still worth fighting for. Then silence. The kind of silence that promised everything was about to change. 11 months earlier, Andrre Hale stepped off a Greyhound bus into the chaos of Manhattan with one backpack, $50 in his wallet, and a legal file thicker than a phone book. The file contained everything he'd lost: court documents, blacklist confirmations, termination letters, evidence that proved he'd been right, and proof that being right had cost him everything. He had once been a rising star in mergers and acquisitions at Sterling Cross Financial. 29 years old, six-figure salary, corner office view, the kind of trajectory that made parents brag at dinner parties. But then he discovered something he wasn't supposed to see: a fraudulent acquisition scheme buried in the paperwork of a major deal, a hidden mechanism designed to bankrupt smaller companies from within, stripping their assets while maintaining a veneer of legitimacy. Andrre had done what he thought was right. He reported it. He documented everything. He went through proper channels, believing the system would protect whistleblowers who exposed corporate fraud. He was wrong. The company turned on him like a pack of wolves protecting their kill. They buried him in lawsuits, defamation, breach of confidentiality, theft of proprietary information. None of it was true, but truth didn't matter when your opponent had unlimited legal resources and you were hemorrhaging money defending yourself. His savings evaporated. His reputation became radioactive. Law firms that had once courted him now refused to return his calls. His girlfriend left first. She'd signed up for corner offices and expensive vacations, not for a pariah dating someone whose name appeared in legal briefs as a cautionary tale. Then his friends faded, one uncomfortable conversation at a time, until his phone stopped ringing altogether. They took his career, his savings, his home, his relationships, everything except the one thing they couldn't touch: his mind. And Andre's mind remembered every pattern, every clause, every trap he'd ever seen. When he arrived in New York with nothing, he applied to every financial firm in the city. Every door slammed shut the moment they ran his background check. So he did the only thing left. He became invisible. Caldwell Global Holdings was hiring night janitors. No background check beyond criminal history. No questions about previous employment. No one cared what a janitor used to be. So Andrre Hale, former corporate strategist, put on a navy blue uniform and learned to empty trash bins. He mopped floors. He restocked bathroom supplies. He sanitized conference rooms after important meetings. And he discovered something powerful about invisibility. When people don't see you, they forget to guard their words. Executives discussed confidential deals while he cleaned around them. Lawyers left sensitive documents in printers overnight. Bankers threw draft contracts in trash bins, assuming no one would read them. And Andrre read everything. Not out of malice or corporate espionage, but because his mind couldn't stop analyzing. It was like asking a master pianist to stop hearing music. 3 months into his job at Caldwell Global, Andrre started noticing papers about a major merger. At first, just fragments, a page left on a conference table, a discarded draft in a recycling bin, an email accidentally printed and abandoned. He told himself not to look. This wasn't his world anymore. He was just the janitor. But then he saw page 417, and the pattern screamed at him. The exact same structure he'd fought against at Sterling Cross. Deferred indemnification clauses wrapped in vague operational language. Multi-tier asset migration triggers designed to look standard. Legal frameworks that appeared protective but functioned as time-delayed traps. Andrre began collecting pieces of the merger document, reading them during his breaks, cross-referencing clauses, mapping the hidden architecture of the deal, and what he found made his blood run cold. Clause 417b wasn't just risky language, it was a corporate takeover mechanism disguised as restructuring protocol. Because, foreign conglomerate Caldwell believed they were acquiring had planted a delayed trigger. 4 years after the merger closed, asset migration protocols would activate automatically. Control structures would shift under the guise of operational efficiency. Penalties would compound through carefully worded indemnification clauses. And when the cascade finished, Caldwell Global Holdings would belong to the company they thought they'd bought. It was brilliant in its cruelty. Legal enough to survive challenges, vague enough to escape scrutiny, and devastating enough to destroy a family empire built over 3 generations. Andrre spent weeks debating whether to interfere. He'd lost everything once for exposing corporate fraud. Why risk it again? He had nothing left to lose, but that also meant he had nothing left to protect himself with. If Caldwell Global's lawyers turned on him the way Sterling Cross had, he wouldn't survive it. But every night, as he mopped the floors of the 87th floor boardroom, he thought about the 3,000 employees who worked in this building. The single mothers in accounting, the recent graduates in IT, the security guards who greeted him by name. They'd all lose their jobs when Caldwell Global collapsed. And Ashley Caldwell, the brilliant young executive everyone whispered about, would lose everything her family had built. He'd watched her from a distance for months, seen her work until 2 a.m. reviewing contracts, heard her defend lower-level employees in meetings, witnessed her genuine respect for people at every level of the company. She was brilliant, that much was obvious. But she was also surrounded by lawyers more interested in billing hours than finding problems, and advisors more focused on closing deals than protecting their client. So Andrre made his decision. He would intervene. One last time, even if it destroyed him again. Back in the boardroom, Ashley's whispered question hung in the air. "Who are you?" Andrre met her gaze steadily. "Someone who's seen this trap before, Miss Caldwell, and someone who knows exactly how it works." He turned to the projection screen, his worn copy of the contract still in his hands. Clause 417b triggers in 4 years. But it doesn't activate alone. It's connected to 7 other clauses scattered throughout the document. His finger traced connections only he could see. Clause 89C establishes the framework. Clause 2-F creates the asset migration pathway. Clause 381A provides the legal justification. The lawyers were silent now, scrambling through their own copies, faces pale as they confirmed his words. Andrre continued, his voice carrying the weight of hard-won expertise. Together, these clauses create a cascade effect. 4 years from signing, operational restructuring begins. Sounds routine, but each restructuring step transfers control incrementally to the acquiring entity. By year 5, Caldwell Global becomes a subsidiary. By year 6, the foreign conglomerate owns majority control, all legally, all according to contracts you just agreed to sign. A senior partner's pen slipped from his fingers and clattered on the table. "How did we miss this?" he breathed. "Because you were looking for obvious threats," Andrre said quietly. "Hostile takeover language, clear ownership transfers, direct control mechanisms. This structure doesn't use any of those. It uses time and legal complexity as weapons." Ashley felt something crack inside her chest. Betrayal mixed with fury, mixed with something else she couldn't name. Her team, her carefully vetted experts, had missed what a janitor found reading discarded papers. But beneath the humiliation was something more disturbing. Andre's competence was absolute. The way he spoke, the way he connected clauses across hundreds of pages, the authority in his voice. This wasn't luck. This was mastery. Her father's voice shattered the moment. "This is insane! You expect us to believe a janitor understands merger law better than 27 lawyers? This is a setup. Security, remove this man immediately." But Andrre didn't flinch. He simply pulled out another document from his cart. Not the merger contract this time. Something older, yellowed with age and heavy with official stamps. This is a case file from Sterling Cross Financial 2023. A fraudulent acquisition that used the exact same clause structure you're about to sign. I documented it. I reported it. I fought it. His voice remained calm, but something harder entered his eyes. And I lost everything, proving I was right. He handed the file to Ashley. Their fingers brushed for a moment, and Ashley saw something in his expression that made her breath catch. Not triumph, not vindication, just exhausted certainty and a hint of old pain that never quite healed. Ashley opened the file. Inside were court documents, legal briefs, and highlighted contracts that mirrored the Caldwell merger with terrifying precision. Her hands shook as she read. This wasn't guesswork. This was experience bought with blood. She began cross-referencing the Sterling Cross case with their current merger, her brilliant mind racing through connections. Every clause Andrre mentioned appeared in both documents. Every trigger mechanism matched. Every hidden trap aligned. They hadn't just almost lost the company. They'd been seconds from signing away their entire legacy to a scheme someone else had perfected years ago. Ashley looked up at Andrre, and for the first time in her life, she felt genuinely awed by someone's competence. Not impressed, not intrigued, awed. This man had seen the invisible, fought the unbeatable, and walked into a room full of people who'd never noticed him to save them from themselves. "You didn't just find the clause," Ashley said, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. "You saved us." She paused, searching his face for answers. "But why? Why risk everything to warn people who don't even know your name?" Andre's eyes held, depths of stories untold, memories of battles fought and prices paid. "Because someone has to," he said simply. And because this time, maybe someone will listen. The silence in the boardroom had weight. Ashley held the Sterling Cross file like it might explode in her hands. Around her, 27 lawyers stared at documents they'd supposedly mastered, now seeing traps they'd completely missed. Her father stood frozen by the window, his reflection ghostly against the Manhattan skyline. And Andrre Hale, the janitor who'd just dismantled their entire world, stood calmly beside his cleaning cart, as if he'd simply finished mopping the floor. Ashley's voice cut through the stillness. "You said you worked in mergers and acquisitions. What level?" Andrre met her gaze. "Vice President of Strategic Analysis at Sterling Cross Financial. I led due diligence for acquisitions valued over $500 million. The room erupted in shocked murmurs. A senior partner actually laughed, the sound bitter and hollow. "You were VP level, and now you're—" He gestured at the uniform, unable to finish. "Now I'm the person who saw what you missed," Andrre said quietly. "Titles don't sharpen your eyes. Experience does. And I have more experience with these traps than anyone in this room wants." Ashley felt the pieces slam together in her mind with brutal clarity. You weren't just saving the company. You were preventing what happened to you from happening again. Her voice dropped to barely above a whisper. How many people lost their jobs when Sterling Cross executed their scheme? 473, Andrre said. The number came instantly, as if he'd counted them one by one. "I have their names. Some of them still email me asking if I've found work yet." Something flickered across his face, old pain breaking through practiced calm. "I couldn't save them, but I could save Caldwell Global's 3,000 employees from the same fate." Ashley's father moved then, his composure cracking. Show us everything." Andrre pulled a tablet from his cart, the device worn but clearly maintained with care. He connected it to the boardroom display, and suddenly the screen filled with an annotated version of the merger contract that put their legal team's work to shame. Layers of color coding, reference maps connecting dozens of clauses, timeline projections showing exactly when each trigger would activate. "The structure is elegant," Andrre began, his voice taking on the authoritative cadence of someone who'd once commanded boardrooms like this. "Clause 417B is just the detonator. The real weapon is built from 7 interlocking clauses that most teams review separately, never seeing how they connect." His finger traced paths across the screen. Year 1 post-merger, Clause 89C establishes operational integration committees that sound collaborative, but actually create decision-making bottlenecks that favor the acquiring entity. Year 2, Clause 2.5.F initiates efficiency-driven asset reallocation that gradually transfers valuable divisions to foreign holding structures. Year 3, Clause 381A invokes market-responsive restructuring protocols that legally justify leadership changes at executive levels. A lawyer's face had gone gray. And Year 4, Clause 417B triggers the cascade, Andrre said. Deferred indemnification obligations activate simultaneously across all previous restructuring actions. Caldwell Global becomes legally liable for penalties you agreed to in operational language you thought was standard. The penalties are calculated as percentages of asset values already transferred, creating impossible debt loads. The only resolution is what the contract calls ownership stabilization through majority control transfer. He pulled up a timeline visualization. By Year 5, the foreign conglomerate owns 51% of Caldwell Global. By Year 6, it's 73%. By Year 7, this company exists in name only, and it's all legal because you signed contracts that authorized every step. The CFO made a sound like he'd been punched. We almost signed this. We were seconds away. Ashley felt rage ignite in her chest. Not at Andrre, at herself, at her team, at the arrogance that had made them believe they were untouchable. She turned on her legal team with fury that made grown men flinch. How? How did 27 lawyers, 4 banks, and 2 government observers miss what one man found reading discarded papers? The senior partner had no defense. We looked for hostile language, clear ownership transfers. We didn't see this because, he faltered, because we've never seen a trap this sophisticated before. But he has, Ashley said, gesturing at Andrre. He's seen it. He fought it. He lost everything, warning people who didn't listen. Her voice rose, and we almost became another Sterling Cross because we were too arrogant to imagine someone smarter was playing a longer game. She took command then, the way she was born to. Cancel the signing, immediately. Draft a statement citing material concerns discovered during final review. Coordinate with PR to control the narrative. She turned to her father. We need to tell the board. Her father nodded slowly, something like respect entering his eyes as he looked at his daughter. You're right. This deal is dead. He glanced at Andrre. Thanks to him. But Ashley wasn't finished. She grabbed Andre's arm and pulled him toward a private conference room adjacent to the boardroom. The door closed behind them, muffling the chaos outside. Suddenly they were alone. The tension in the small space was electric. Why? Ashley demanded. You lost everything last time. Why risk it again? Why not just let us fail? Andrre leaned against the wall, exhaustion finally showing in his posture. Because this company reminds me of the one I failed to save. Good people, strong culture, leadership that actually cares about employees. He met her eyes. And because I watched you for 11 months, saw you defend junior analysts in meetings, saw you learn people's names at every level, saw you work until dawn, not because you had to, but because you actually cared about getting it right. Something in Ashley's chest tightened. You were watching me? Everyone was watching you, Andrre said quietly. But most people don't see what I see. You're brilliant, Miss Caldwell. But you're surrounded by people more interested in closing deals than protecting you. And I couldn't watch someone like you get destroyed by the same trap that destroyed me. Ashley felt something shift between them. Gratitude mixed with disbelief, mixed with something deeper she couldn't name. He'd saved her company, her legacy, her father's life's work. But more than that, he'd seen her when no one else had. Really seen her. Not as the CEO's daughter or the merger prodigy, but as someone worth protecting. I need to hire you, Ashley said suddenly. Consultant, advisor, director of strategic analysis, whatever you want. Name your price. Andrre shook his head slowly. I didn't do this for a job. Then what did you do it for? Ashley whispered, stepping closer despite herself. Andrre held her gaze, something vulnerable and dangerous flickering in his eyes. You told them everything was under control. I needed you to see what they hid from you, what they didn't want you to see, what they couldn't see themselves. He paused. You deserved to know the truth before you signed away everything you'd built. The moment hung between them like a question neither was ready to answer. Outside, chaos erupted as the press learned the signing was cancelled. Cameras flashed against windows. Reporters shouted questions that wouldn't be answered. Ashley's phone vibrated with a dozen urgent messages she ignored. She heard her father's voice through the door, commanding and controlled as he addressed the board. Some members would be furious at the cancelled deal. Others would be relieved. but all of them would now fear the janitor who'd saved them from themselves. Ashley looked at Andrre, this impossible man who'd walked into a perfectly controlled world and shattered every assumption she'd held. Part of her wanted to thank him properly. Part of her wanted to demand he stay and help rebuild whatever came next. And part of her, a part that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure, wanted to chase him if he tried to disappear back into invisibility. "What happens now?" she asked. Andrre picked up his worn tablet, disconnecting it from the boardroom system. "Now you decide whether to rebuild this deal properly or walk away entirely. Either way, you know what to look for." He moved toward the door. "And you don't need me for that." "But what if I want you anyway?" The words escaped before Ashley could stop them. Andrre paused, his hand on the door handle. He turned back, and for the first time since stepping out of that elevator, he smiled. Not the quiet, devastating smile from before. Something softer. Something real. "Then I guess we'll find out what happens when someone finally listens." The door opened. Chaos waited beyond it. Ashley Caldwell, heir to an empire, stood at the center of the storm. And beside her, wearing a janitor's uniform but carrying himself like the strategist he'd always been, Andrre Hale prepared to face whatever consequences came next. Together.